What up, what up, what up? What up, what up? One love. How's everybody doing? It's Friday, TGIF. Hope everybody has some fun plans for the weekend. And just most importantly, thanks for hanging out. Thank you for showing up to one of these streams, whether you're watching this, days after the fact like a loser, or you're here watching it live like a champion. It's great to have you. But, all joking aside, thanks for hanging out. I'm gonna, we're still essentially in the same range, on Bitcoin and kind of waiting for resolution, but I want to drill into detail on that and answer any questions. I want to go over a bunch of stuff. I'll look at altcoins, we'll look at equities. As always, we'll just do a kind of essentially a full market scan. If you don't know who I am, why am I in an orange mask? I'm just some dude. I'm a trading author. I'm a teacher. I'm a trader. I published 4 books. Those books are all free on my YouTube channel, Cheds Trading, which is where we are now. Check me out in Cheds Trading. Check out the encyclopedia. If you really if you're someone like me who wants to learn technique, professional TA, I've studied professional TA and I teach it for free. In the encyclopedia is a great place to go. 400 and something videos, patterns, oscillators, concepts, trading concepts. It's all here for you. So, check that out. I hope you do enjoy it. I'm on Twitter, of course, at Big Cheds. This stream is sponsored by my favorite exchange, BingX. I've worked with them for 6 or 7 years, and I'm there. The DEX they're working with is Alpha X. So you can, if you want to trade on that, there's no fees at all right now. They have some crazy promo going on, so check that out. And of course, Bitcoin Live. Bitcoin Live is really important to me. It's an educational platform, and it's the longest running. And I think the best team in the world that studies crypto, and I've been with them, since the beginning. I'm a founding analyst. What's really cool is 2 or 3 times a year, if you go to the public blog, my member report gets published. So my report from just a few days ago is available for you. So I would definitely go ahead and check that out. And that's my pinned tweet. Right here. So if you want to know what I'm saying to the private member group, right, and you get a sense of what it's all about, and these are must watch. They really only come out every 3, 4, 5 months. So new one's out. It's very recent, just from last week. So let's get into that. While the chat room is filling up, what I'd like to say is, bring your questions. Don't be shy. If you have a question for me, there's a pretty good chance that somebody else, has the same question. And by you being brave enough to ask it, it creates an opportunity for learning and discussion. So get your questions ready. Fire away your comments in the chat. In the meantime, we're just going to lay the table on Bitcoin, Ethereum. I want to look at, other stuff too. But really what's important for Bitcoin is to give us a clear breakout. And when you're looking for a clear breakout, the first step really is going to be a well-defined price level. So let's say you have a range peak here and you come up, maybe range peak there and like this. And it's doing something, it's coming back and it's trying to advance and break out there. That's decent, but it's not as well a defined level. Is it here? Is it here? You get this big price zone to watch. What's nice about the current structure is you have a well-defined overhead level, right? You have where the price advanced and was rejected in early June. You kind of drag it over this box, this zone, and it lines up with lost support. And what you have is, again, the principle of polarity, where you have essentially that lost support turns into resistance. And what you can do, and when you're looking at any chart, if you can identify a clear level like this, it gives you a pivot. It gives you, Kriskin says, I'm human. Great to see you. It gives you a price pivot, something to work with. So what I've been talking about in Bitcoin for a long time now as review is, even though, we're waiting for lower and it's very likely to hit 54K in the near term and the cycle bottom, of course, later in the year, likely somewhere in this range. In the meantime, I'm always going to take the best trade available. And what I've been saying, you can still take a trade on Bitcoin if we break 67K, because it would be the technique of a 2-level filter. So the first level, of course, the descending supply trend, right? The series of falling highs, lower highs. And it doesn't really matter exactly how you draw the line, because remember, we're just drawing the trend. We're not really focused on the line itself. If you get a lower high break after the diagonal, that's the 2-level filter. So this would be the first level filter. And rather than going down, it's hung around. We put in higher lows, and then confirmation would be a break of the lower high. So if we get a break of 67K, definitely you should take a long. There's a very good chance we can, the price can, advance at least up to 72K, 73K. That's a nice little risk to reward. So we're watching that. I just took a big, deep breath there. I'm not sure why. We're watching for that. In the meantime, right shoulder. And this is pretty well formed now. And I did retweet some work from one of my colleagues, Mr. Axel Kaibar. And if you look, it's got the potential here for the right shoulder, head, left shoulder, head, and right shoulder. But with head and shoulders, we know how to play it, right? You play it very clearly. You either get a breakout or an invalidation, right? And so let's say you've got left shoulder, head, left shoulder, neck baseline. So if you're a bull, you have to take a short on the invalidation or loss of the right shoulder. If you're a bear, you should abandon your thesis or go long on a break of the neck baseline. You don't play in the middle. You don't play in between. And so with any pattern, especially one that's well-formed, you either get the breakout or the breakdown. You know where your thesis is invalidated. You know where you kind of have to switch your thesis. Volume lines up nicely. Heavy volume on the left shoulder, less in the head, even less in the right shoulder. So pretty normal. You could view this as, narrow left and wide right, inverted head and shoulder potential, but it's got to break out. And whether you name it that or you just name it some rounding bottom structure, this is the peak of the structure. And again, that's your long trigger. Now, I have videos on all these concepts if you want to learn rounding bottom, inverted head and shoulders, principal polarity, any concept I mentioned. So that's what it boils down to. We got to break 67K. And if it fails to do that, you got to be very careful if you're a bull and there's an inability to hold the rising demand. AKA the higher low, AKA the right shoulder. So that's pretty straightforward. But that's all the stuff we've been talking about. So I didn't break any ground there. But what's interesting, my friends, is the tightness of the Bollinger Bands. So if you can look at it intuitively, you can see, you zoom out, these are pretty tight, right? The Bollinger Bands, these are reflective of standard movement, standard deviation from the middle Bollinger Band. So let's go ahead and remove all the other stuff to make a point. And we have the Bollinger Bands, right? And we got the EMA 8. Let's hide that for the moment. My good friend, primary uptrend. So you've got the middle Bollinger Band, the SMA 20, and you have two standard deviations of volatility of the price, I believe on a closing basis, away from the middle Bollinger Band. And when you're just sideways for a while, if you note the MA 20 sideways, EMA 34 will bring it back. EMA 34, sideways. EMA 8, sideways. EMA exponential, more price weighting to the recent candle. SMA 50 sideways. You have all these moving averages sideways. Not the 200. We're in a downtrend. We're in a confirmed downtrend daily. But all these moving averages are sideways, and that's reflective of real price compression. So you can see it visually, but what you can do, if you go to indicators, you go to technicals, you scroll down to Bollinger Band width. Here's the Bollinger Band width. WIDTH indicator. I have a video specifically on this in the encyclopedia. You can go look it up. Pretty much, anything I mentioned. What's notable is see how tight they are. This shows how tight they are. It's the tightest Bollinger Bands since January. Well, what happened? Let's go take a look. Take a look. All right, so we had very, very tight Bollinger Bands here, and it was actually somewhat similar where you had all the moving averages essentially sideways, right? And then we had a tight move, a break out of the Bollinger Band, and then essentially an up thrust or a failed bull break. So, of course, you'd watch for that. And that's something that would be, obviously I didn't mention, but with any kind of a clear horizontal break, if there's a failed hold here, say we get a breakout, boom, that'd be a mega short signal because you couldn't hold above the reclaimed level. So Bollinger Band suggests there's a big move coming. You can see it in the 3-day as well. Very tight. Look at that Bollinger squeeze in the 3-day. And we're seeing this across the market. That's reflective of just prolonged sideways price action and compression, tightening compression, which often leads to expansion, right? And you can see it in the Bollinger Bands as well. We'll go ahead and pull it up. Here's this. Now we have the tightest Bollinger Bands, daily Bollinger Bands, second tightest since 2024, right, on Ethereum, and tightest since May. So we're due for a move, and what that means, it should mean to you, is you want to be ready. You want to have you should have your levels marked out. You should know where you're watching. And with Bitcoin, it's nicely enough, in my view, in my not so humble view, we know exactly where to watch. We either hold the right shoulder or we get our breakout level. Okay, so that's what we're looking at in Bitcoin. We don't have to go any further. We don't have to predict anything. What's nice is we've got tight compression, which means we're going to have volatility soon, and we have well-defined price levels. Okay. Now, moving from beyond that, we've been monitoring. I say we, it's me. but you're here, you're part of the team. Ethereum had been outperforming Bitcoin, but a little bit of a cool off here on Ethereum BTC, which is Ethereum versus Bitcoin. And so this had continued a little bit of loss of momentum here. And we'll see if that's a sign that maybe Bitcoin's going to make another push back up. We shall see. But Ethereum had been outperforming, had an early breakout, but failed to follow through and still needs to clear. Hopefully I don't sneeze here. It still needs to clear this overhead level 2050. So we've got Ethereum in a pretty well-defined range. I'm not breaking ground here. So we see our range low, we see our range peak, and it'd be interesting to see the interaction of the price and the falling SMA 200 if and when it gets there, confluence to these lost, this lost support level. But in the meantime, there's a bunch of interesting alts. I'm just going to, while you folks get your questions ready. I see some nice comments. Everyone's saying, great to see you. How you doing? Thank you. And thank you. But I love the questions. I'm going to riff through alts. And if there's anything interesting, we've got big range compression on Zcash. Higher low to watch. That's your lower high for a pivot. Hype's kind of hanging in there, but this is essentially underside of lost support 58. Did hold where it needed to hold at 52. Venice is cooling off, but JST has been one of the best looking charts. Look at this thing grinding higher. JST looks pretty good. Ondo back to a key level. Big cool off. Couldn't hold. Sol looks terrible. As you know, I had a short and I got stopped out. I played it poorly. But, a lot of people were bullish on Solana as it was kind of pushing up into this underside of lost support. I mistimed it, of course. But this, that's not so surprising rejection, rather, if you will, right? Pump, nice breakout on Pump. Pump looks decent. You want to see if it can hold here for some rising demand. So Pump's got a little bit of relative strength. Uni, we'll see what it's doing. Rising demand looks pretty good. And let's look at the other altcoins as well. I've been watching Convex. Looks pretty interesting too. I did tweet this out. Big volume. You pay attention to volume. And this is range peak. And then we have the breakout. Overhead level. Can it hold rising demand and continue and break through and punch through? The volume is interesting. We covered Uni. Avi failed breakout. ADA, we'll see what it's doing here. It's kind of got something going on. But I think if I had a short that failed here, if it bounces back up to 24, I'm going to try to take another short. Again, bouncing a downtrend. ENA is interesting. I've been talking about that a little bit. Look at the volume increasing. The price is pushing into this would be a 2-level filter breakout, right? Again, descending supply trend and then lower high break. Let's see if any of these, I don't think any of these are really, really worth talking about. Yeah, these all look pretty rough. So these are the ones I wanted to talk about on equities. We've got some interesting stuff. Of course, SPYs are just ridiculous. Why would you bet against the S&P 500? And Qs as well, super strong. I was thinking it might fill this gap. Maybe it doesn't even fill the gap, but that's an area to support, to watch if it does stall here. This is kind of a continuation check level. It paused there initially. Again, the initial break of the trend, and then this is like that big lower high. It paused there. Keeping an eye on that level. Nothing really going on with MicroStrategy. You don't really like the chart. A little bit of a weakness here at range peak. IBIT's basically tracking Bitcoin. Let's see. Tesla's interesting. I don't know if you folks noted, but I put out a tweet right here, and I basically said candle body progression is telling the story. And if you wonder what that means, I have a video on candle body progression. You can find it in the encyclopedia. But it's the idea that the body shows the momentum of the market, right? In Japanese candlestick theory, of course, wicks are important. But big body, smaller body, even smaller body, and even smaller body shows a weakening trend. We had one push down, but since then we've had a nice advance. So Tesla's been turning around, looking pretty good as well. SpaceX may be bottoming here. Big old bullish engulfing, and now working on the weekly bullish engulfing. So some improvement there. Palantir's been kind of nuts. Nice little breakout here too. And now the highest price, since February. So that's a nice looking chart. All right, let's get back to business. Let's get back to Bitcoin. You folks just fire off your questions. If you have any alts you want me to look at, you have any big board stuff you want me to look at, just let me know. So WTM wants to know, Cheds. He says, I know you think the bottom is not in. Yeah, of course not. I mean, we don't have any evidence that it's in yet. What price does Bitcoin need to reclaim before you think the bottom is in? You may have mentioned it before. Okay, that's an interesting question. I think at this point, Well, first I'll weekly SMA 50. And I think at this point, if we can clear and get back up above 82 in the weekly SMA 50, it'd be very reasonable to think the bottom is in. Okay, because again, that would be a weekly 2-level filter break. That would be just a weekly, whether you draw it that way, that would be your lower high. That would be basically price reacceptance back up into this range here. And you'd be reclaiming the weekly SMA 50, which when it was lost was really confirmation that the top was in. But in the meantime, I mean, why would you jump the gun and guess? I mean, look at the weekly chart. We're underside EMA 8. We're underside primary resistance. The weekly chart is super, super bearish. At least the local, right? The nearby price action. Again, Dow theory, primary, secondary, minor trend. The secondary trend is in charge right now, and it's a downtrend. And we're underside EMA 8, right? We're underside loss support. So even, especially in the weekly time frame, it shows you how important this level is at 67K, right? So let's see, AVAX. Somebody wants me to take a look at AVAX. Sure, I can do that. I think I have it in here in this list. If I don't, I need to add it back. I don't see it unless I'm blind. Okay, I was missing AVAX. Thank you for asking about it. Let's go AVAX. Let's take a look. WTN says, thanks, Chad. You're welcome. Yeah, it's a terrible chart. AVAX, look at this weekly chart. I mean, hopefully you're not holding this, right? Like, Atin, are you holding this? And if so, why? I mean, this is just a horrid, really, really terrible looking chart. I would say delete from the watch list, sell and move on. Like, why would you even watch this chart? It's terrible. It's bearish. It's probably going lower. I hate the chart. Absolutely hate it. I mean, I actually did have it up here. Here's AVAX. Yeah, I mean, it's just a terrible chart. Like if you were in because you thought it was bottoming here, you have to sell when it fails. You can't just hold, oh, I thought it was bottom here. Now I'll buy here. Now I'll buy here. No, you're going to buy down to zero. Don't do that. Level to level trading, stop loss at each level. Define your risk, respect your money. Okay. Hope everybody's doing well. Again, I just want to not apologize, but I normally stream a little more. I haven't streamed on YouTube for about 10 days. Part of it, I was fishing. Life is good, of course. But I put out the Bitcoin Live report, my member report, folks. Right? These are all only out like 2 or 3, maybe 3 or 4 a year, and you get to see what I'm saying to the members in the private group. You got to go to my Twitter page, check out the pinned tweet. You need to watch this video. It's a great, very, very great video. Okay. CryptoDoc says dark mode, please. No, I'm not a psychopath, man. Dark mode, you can't read anything. Like, maybe dark mode is slightly easier on the eyes, but there's just no way to see the candles. You don't see the candles the way and understand the price. And I'd rather, my job here as a trader is to see the price properly, and then I can do something with it. And when I can and tell you folks what I see and provide some value, on my Twitter page, people have me on alerts. I'm not going to just notifications. I'm not going to spam stuff. I'm going to say stuff with conviction. I'm not going to go to dark mode to make it easier in your eyes, but to give you a worse read on the chart, okay? Jordan wants to know, what are your thoughts on charting with 24/7 markets such as Hyperliquid versus TradingView for things like U.S. stocks? Well, the thing with U.S. stocks in 24/7, you have less liquidity, right? I would just, if you put trading stocks, I'd probably just trade them during the hours that they're trading using E-Trade, Robinhood, Fidelity, like whatever. That's when you get the most volume. When you have these, that's why like futures markets, people get smoked on, right? Because there's less liquidity, right? I understand you're like wanting to trade 24/7. Just trade crypto if you want to trade 24/7. Just make sure there's liquidity in the market. So it's very light liquidity in these like Hyperliquid, these other like equities markets when like the real market itself, it's closed. So I'd be very careful with that. And I would just not do it generally. Redwire stock, I've never heard of that one. Let's take a look at it. Any requests, folks? I'll go as long as you have requests. If not, we'll wrap it up. I did just want to touch base with everyone because it's been a little while and make sure make sure we're caught up. I mean, it's generally sideways on RDW. You can see that that's the trend. The weekly trend's a little bit stronger. I do like this break of the volume trend. And of course, I have a video on the concept of volume trend in the encyclopedia. I don't know how many of you even have watched the encyclopedia. If you haven't, you're kind of crazy. 400 videos. You don't need textbooks. You don't need to do CMT. You don't need to pay for a trading course. I mean, it's all here. It's all here. Look at this, right? And so volume trend. And so you get a volume trend, a bullish break in the volume trend, a little bit of an inside, almost like a bullish harami where you get inside bar break fake out. So it's got some momentum here. Certainly on the weekly, daily, we see a nice gap up, nice advance, and I think going forward, if this level can be held, that would be significant. Strong bull momentum. I do like the chart. Nice looking chart. Look at Ethereum, please. I've already looked at Ethereum, but I'm happy to look at it again. And really, Ethereum is pretty much in between two well-defined price ranges. 1850, it's held here in multiple throwbacks, which are price retests. And the overhead level, you must be dealt with. If we get a bounce up into 2K, you're going to have the confluence of the falling 200 and the lost support here. It's harder for me to give you a longer-term read because the trend is flat. You're just sideways here. It's not like Bitcoin where we have a longer-term trend and we can reasonably articulate, where we think it's going to be, where we think it's going to bottom, and when, like roughly or maybe. You don't have that luxury of that with Ethereum given the lack of the trend, but you do have at least, in the daily chart, you've got range low, range peak, okay? Let's see. Can I look at GDP gold plat? Sure. And thank you for coming, folks. Thank you for being here. GDP gold plat's bullish. Yeah, nice job here. What is that? Dividend? What is that D for? Data displayed. That's right. Yeah. What is this? OTC? Oh, no, LSE. Okay. So, yeah, this is a nice looking chart. Not much more to say than a nice rising trend. Nice break of the consolidation range and some lower high breaks. That's bullish. Good luck. Good job there. How do you read the sentiment? Tons of posts on Ethereum and Tau. I had someone else mention Tau to me, and that just looks terrible. There's posts on this. Are you serious? On this? Who is posting Tau? Like this? Look at this thing. There's just nothing. There's nothing going on with Tau. This is an abysmal chart. You should not even have $1 in this chart. Just delete it from the watch list. It looks terrible. Okay. How do I read sentiment? I think it's quiet right now. People are waiting, waiting for something. It's still pretty mixed. People calling the bottom. People not calling the bottom yet. I just think I want to see how sentiment reacts when we get clarification. In the current price range. I spent a bunch of time in the beginning of the video talking about the tightness of the Bollinger Bands and how all the moving averages are sideways. So I think sentiment right now is mixed. What for me is going to be how sentiment is after we break the range. I think that will be instructive, okay? Circle and Bryn Mawr. Take a look at Circle. I don't like Circle either. Not a good looking chart. It's a downtrend. It's pretty darn weak. And it just needs to just at least clear 72, 73 to get started. Slow down a little bit, but I just don't like it. I don't like the chart. It's a downtrend. I'd much rather play something else. Bitminer. Let's see, Bitmine. It's okay, but this is a big spot. You could be shorting here, actually. I kind of like a short here. And you would say, why, Cheds? Why? You're just a bear, or you're grumpy. Well, maybe I'm grumpy, but it's a bounce in a downtrend into lost support. This is kind of like Solana. Remember I talked about Solana earlier, and I mistimed. I mistimed the short, but I had the right idea. So look at Solana, right? This is kind of like Solana here. It's the same thing, right? This is what Solana was doing. I was just a little bit early, but see Solana. Now look at Bitminer. It's the same deal. It's a bounce in a downtrend into lost support. I'd be looking to take a short here. And you can have a very well-defined risk level stop loss. I mean, you could say, I'm short. I'm not holding above 20 for sure. I mean, that maybe it's a little bit loose, but that's where you'd say, okay, right? So it's pretty asymmetric, good risk to reward. If it rejects, it's probably dropping to about 15 to that range, okay? Is BTC bottomed for this cycle? Well, we don't know. There's just literally no way to know, if it's bottomed yet. I say probably not. I mean, there's no evidence it's bottomed yet. We don't see it, certainly not in the higher time frame. We're below lost support. We're below the EMA 8. Even if we get a bounce here, a break rather of 67K, which is a great long trade, it's still not going to mean a bottom. It just means there's a good bounce, probably up into this level. You need to absolutely clear 82K, 83K, and the weekly SMA 50 before we'll know if the bottom's in. But just a strong downward trend, there's literally no way to know if the bottom's in, but it's almost definitely not in because there's just no evidence of it. No evidence of it just yet. Okay, great question. Would you switch Link to Zcash? I just wouldn't. I hate Link. I don't hate it, but it's not a good looking chart. Would I switch Link to Zcash? Okay, here's Link. This is a bad chart. Yeah, why would you be in this? Why would you be in this chart? Are you kidding me? Why would you be in Link versus Zcash? Look at Zcash. Just a way stronger chart. Yeah, like 100%. I'd rather be in Zcash than Link. Right? I mean, you can pull up a pair too. You could pull up like Link. Can you do Link ZEC? Not really. You have to do it a different way. But you can look at one chart versus another. And like this is a bull trend. This is nice compression. Link just looks terrible. It's not doing anything. Why would you be in Link? I don't understand that. I don't understand why people just hold coins. Like, look at this. People are like loading fetch. Like, why? Look at this thing. Someone mentioned Tau. I just like DOT. People, oh, I'm loading DOT. Like, what are you doing with your money? Do you just burn your money? Play good charts. You know, make it easier on yourself. Okay. Atman says, you're right. I'm holding AVAX. I want your opinion if there's a chance of upside move, or should I average and reduce your loss, or should I get out? My entry is 990 on AVAX. Dude, you're down 50%. How are you still holding this? There's just no way you can hold when this breaks. If your average is 990, you had to sell at like $8. There's just no way you should be holding here. You should just sell and delete it. And then take a break. Sell your AVAX, delete from the watch list, take a break, and just start watching my videos, man. Learn like how to manage your risk. I mean, you shouldn't be risking $1. You shouldn't be in this market if you buy here and you don't hold when it loses support like that. Like, this is a downtrend. You can't just buy stuff and hold and say, oh, does it ever have hope of recovery? That's not how you respect yourself or respect your money. Okay. You're always going to get tough love from me. Okay. And thank you for being here, folks. Happy Friday. I just want to check in with everyone. And if you're watching on replay, it's great to have you. Everyone who's live, I love you. Oh, this is a bad chart. DYXZ. Yeah. Destiny Tech, I don't like it. What are we doing? Now, it's off the bottom a little bit, and you have a kind of important reclaim, but this is just a mess. This is just a mess. I mean, if it gets a little higher, maybe you can short it around 29 or 30, but yeah, I don't like this chart at all. Look at this weak sideways in the weekly chart, near range lows. I just generally do not like this chart. I would say you really don't want to be in this, okay? So I've given you a pretty good game plan to watch for in Bitcoin. We have inverted head and shoulder structure potential, okay? Breakout level 67K, right shoulder right around 62K. If we do complete, rather than a measured move, understanding, right, the idea of the measured move in classical charting, rather than a measured move based on, the height of the structure. Let's try this. Right, rather than a 76K target, you're going to use 72, 73 because you have the structure or the obstacle in the way of the measured move. I have several videos specifically on this concept in the encyclopedia. So that's what we're watching out for. If it fails, if we fail here, this will not hold and we'll be at 54K soon. So those are my thoughts. You really should make sure you go to my Twitter page, check out the member report from Bitcoin Live. It's been declassified. I am a founding analyst, and 3 or 4 times a year my reports are made public. So it's in the public blog. You don't want to miss that. I'm on Twitter at Big Cheds. Check out the Trading Encyclopedia. I've worked really, really hard on this for you folks. It's 430 videos. My books are on Amazon, but they're free in the encyclopedia, including Trading Journal, including Trading Wisdom. I'm on Twitter at Big Cheds. This stream is sponsored by BingX, who I've worked with for 7 years, and their DEX Alpha X. No fees for them right now. Check it out. But folks, thank you for chilling with me. Really, really appreciate you. I hope you're doing well. And, I hope you come to the next stream. Leave me your questions. If I didn't get to your question, I will try to do so the next time. So, folks, thank you. Thank you so much. Buddha James says, Cheds, I saw you in Crypto Banter 6 years ago. I've always appreciated the free education you've offered. I thank you so much. That's really nice of you. I've been doing this for a long time. I really have to say, like, I've everything I've tried to do, I've put it into the encyclopedia. I hope you folks do enjoy this. When I started trading, if there was something like this where I could just go look up stuff, like, it would have saved me years. I think years. Here's candle body progression. We talked about this earlier. It would have saved me years. It's just simple concepts. I mean, not just what are my moving averages, but what's a volume cluster, how to play a fake out, EMA, SMA, how do I define the trend, things like Fibonacci retracement tool. If you want to know what's a tweezer bottom, tweezer top, I mean, look at all this stuff. So definitely enjoy that. And we're going to dance with Church of Eight Wheels. Thank you, folks. I love the comments. It's just nice of you to be here. Really nice of you folks to be here. So I'm glad I went live. I know I've been busy, but, I'm always thinking about you folks. So let's dance to Church of Eight Wheels, and we'll go from there. So, folks, thank you so much. Let's do it.